For every overwhelmed athlete out there that's trying to figure out the recruiting process, this is your blueprint. Ari Homayun, from a top beach volleyball player to a top D1 beach coach. She talks about her big sister energy, how she looks at the players, how she looks at the recruiting process, and most importantly, how crucial it is to figure out your own identity, who you are, and how you triangulate in this recruiting process. Once you get that down, everything will be easier. You'll be able to figure out which school and which coach is the right fit for you. All right, so let's go.
Thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. I'm super excited.
All right, tell me how this whole thing came about. You're such an amazing human being that has a wonderful way of expressing things and the whole aura about yourself. Tell us how was your journey? Not many coaches can do that, and I would like to use the opportunity that you've been through the whole recruiting process, playing process, and then switching to coaching, which not necessarily will all the girls do, but at least the first part I think is interesting. And so then about what culture did you bring to CSUN, and then we're gonna switch to what are you bringing to Davis? What's your philosophy? How would you like your team to be like? Well, how would you like it to be perceived, and what legacy you're building? And once we get through that, we can dive into the recruiting process. Perfect. So tell me how this whole thing happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in the day and age where there weren't limits on age to recruiting. And so I remember some of my peers being in like the 8th grade and verbally committing to programs, which is kind of gnarly. And I think the adjustment now that the NCAA has made with contacting kids at their junior year, I think is a positive thing. Asking a 13-year-old to decide what they want to do 5 years later is a lot. But yeah, I went into beach volleyball more as a tool for the indoor side because it wasn't a collegiate sport yet. It was barely an AVCA sport when I was young. And so I was like, okay, let me try beach. My coach at the club that I played for played on the AVP. So he had a good training regimen over the summer. And my first 2 years, I lost every game that I played. I was competing against girls that grew up in Manhattan Beach, Hermosa, San Diego, and had been playing beach for years. And it was kind of my first time on the scene. And so I lost every game that I played, but it made me better on the indoor side. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to stick to this because the rate with which I was progressing on the indoor side was so accelerated compared to my peers that it was worth it. The losing was worth it. And then kind of by that 3rd year going into my freshman year of high school is when I started to win games. And I was like, okay, this is pretty fun. And then my sophomore year is when I was playing at a tournament in Chula Vista, and the assistant coach at Hawaii was there recruiting someone else. And we had won that tournament, which was really awesome. And then the selling point, she had reached out to my club coach, and the selling point was that beach was going to be an official NCAA sport my freshman year. And so, I had not even thought about the possibility of playing beach in college. Hawaii had always actually been my dream school. So it was a dream school on the indoor side, but I figured I wouldn't have the role that I wanted. So switching to beach, especially after I'd started winning and found success, I was like, okay, this is super fun. And so, I went on an unofficial visit my sophomore year to Hawaii. I was pretty diligent. So my freshman year of high school, I probably sent out over 100 emails to different schools. I was... Yeah, and it was back in the day. I don't know if you're familiar with Final Cut Pro, the editing. So I was learning how to use that in like the 8th grade and putting together highlight reels by my freshman year. And I had a list of 25 dream schools. I had a list of 25 realistic schools, maybe 25 to 50 realistic schools, and then 25 fail safe, like if all else fails, that's where, I could probably play. And so started that journey, sent out over 100 emails. And then as fate would have it, one of the school, and that was all for indoor. And so as fate would have it, having the assistant coach from Hawaii be there was kind of a game-changing opportunity. Went on the visit, loved it, committed shortly after that. And then 4 years at Hawaii, which was awesome. Probably some of the best 4 years of my life. And so grateful for the time that I spent there, the teams and the players that I competed with. We were highly competitive. We were all really goal oriented. We knew that we wanted to compete for a national championship every single year. And being in that type of environment is different. It's not something that a ton of people get to experience. And so I'm really grateful for that opportunity. And then, yeah, I graduated, and my volunteer assistant, again, and we're going to talk full circle. The volunteer assistant at Hawaii was Danny Alvarez, and he stepped away. So I actually took over as the volunteer assistant that year.
I see.
So for it to come full circle with Jeff now being at CSUN, Danny now being the head at Hawaii, and me being at Davis, it's hilarious that it kind of worked out that way. And then COVID happened, and I didn't know. My parents were still paying for my rent, and they were like, "Hey, you got to move back to California." And so I was like, "Okay." And then I knew Todd's assistant had graduated, so again, on the off chance, just shot him an email and was like, "Hey, I know Chrissy is graduating. Are you looking?" And it kind of worked out, and he was like, "Actually, I am." And I almost said no to him, which is a crazy story.
Seriously.
Yeah, it was the cost of living. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to find a place to live. And he was like, "Well, what if I can help you?" And I was like, "Todd, you're awesome." And so he kind of made it work, and the opportunity was way too good to pass. And then I honestly really believe that was a pivotal moment of opening so many doors for me after that. And so I'll be forever grateful and indebted to Todd for that opportunity. He helped me get the CSUN job. And then he actually, when the Davis job opened, he shot me a text and he was like, "You applied, right?" And I was like, "I did." So yeah, he's just been in support the whole time. So yeah, that's kind of how it progressed. And it just felt like one door just kept opening. And I feel lucky a lot of the time, but I know that it's also the hard work and time and attention that I put into it.
Wow, this is a story for a movie, Ari.
That would be funny.
Seriously. And you know, me having a conversation with Todd and Jeff, and even other coaches that, I don't know if you Mike from Long Beach, and you know, even, I mean, everybody whom I talk to, it's just this pattern of creating this safe space for athletes and people, and being this guide, this how to say, almost like a, you know, Mr. Yoda is sitting there, but letting people become the best version of themselves. And what you're describing is like, oh my gosh, it's amazing that there are so many wonderful people in this world.
It's awesome, especially in the volleyball community, beach volleyball community.
So, okay. So you applied. You're right here now. Tell me what formed you as a coach.
Yeah, I will always say this. It was kind of a culmination of all the experiences that I've had. I really have gone into most of my experiences wanting to be as sponge-like as possible, just absorbing as much information as I possibly could. I actually started coaching to help out at the club that I played for. So I was like 16 coaching our 12s team. And so that was kind of my first opportunity into coaching. And the philosophy behind that was, if you can coach it, you understand it, which means you can implement it a little bit better. So for me, coaching at an early age was a tool to get my own skill set better.
Right.
But being exposed to that eye of coaching at a very young age, I think was super developmental for me. And then went to Hawaii, different set of coaches, again, wanted to absorb all the information, how they were doing it. I absolutely believe that you are doing a disservice if you're not picking the brains of those around you that have been doing things at such a long time. You know, so picking Danny's brain, picking Jeff Evans' opportunity that I had was incredibly important to me. So, and then I did the same thing with Todd, just sat there and was trying to absorb all of the information that I possibly could, and then taking all of my favorite bits from all of those people and kind of crafting my own unique coaching style.
That I can't wait to hear about. But before, like, let's build up the expectation and the tension about it, because I think this is very unique. You mentioned a few really interesting things that so on a side note, this is not only for athletes and parents. I think we should do a service to club coaches and maybe high school coaches that are helping girls transition and bridge that period from middle school when they are deciding what they actually want to do. Once they set their goal to the place where they commit or decide not to play, that's entirely up to them. But help coaches understand how it is and what does it take to build a high-performing team, even though it's a different structure than college, right? But the basic principles of functioning and approaching players and allowing them to grow are the same, no matter where you go, right? It's the club, it can be a business. So can you please now dive a little deeper on your most closest to the heart or your most transformative experiences and thoughts on the side where you were at the high performing environment in Hawaii, and then what did you experience and how did you soak up that same high competitive environment with Todd?
Yeah, it was eye-opening to say the least. I was a big fish in a small pond in terms of volleyball growing up on the club side, and so getting to Hawaii.
Where did you grow up?
In the San Fernando Valley in California.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, it was in the specific area that I was in, there weren't a ton of, the volleyball level wasn't super high. So I definitely felt like a big fish in a small pond. And then I get to Hawaii and I'm a small fish in a big pond. And I will always say this, that my freshman year, that fall of my freshman year was the most transformative. And it's something that I look back on so fondly now, because I really had to sit down as a 18-year-old, moved away from family. I'm on my own and I'm struggling and I'm not performing at the level that I think I can perform at. I feel like I'm letting myself down. I feel like I'm letting the hard work that I've put in to all of this. Like, I feel like I felt disappointed. And so to self-reflect and look at myself in the mirror and say, what do I really want out of this? What do I want to accomplish? How hard am I going to work? How much am I going to sacrifice in order to get to that place? For an 18-year-old kid to kind of look at myself in the mirror and be like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to bust my butt. I've worked too hard for too long to let a couple of road bumps get in my way. Would be such a disservice to myself. And so, after that fall semester, I locked in. I trained really hard over winter break. And my goal going back into the spring semester was get better every day, right? It didn't need to be overnight where I turned from one player into this new player. It was just a steady progression of how good can I keep on getting, right? And then it felt like I was getting better every day, and it just continued to get better. And I ended up starting that first weekend, made the travel squad.
Wow.
Yeah, played at the threes. Like, it was such a rewarding moment for me to be able to dig deep and not give up. And I always look back on that so fondly. And all it really took was this next level drive, right? Like, it wasn't, again, I'm 5'6", nothing's gonna come easy to me. My technique has to be perfect. And that's something that can be a hard pill to swallow for some kids. But I looked at that plainly in the face. Like, if I'm not playing perfect, I'm not gonna play. And what do I want? I want to compete. I want to win. I want to play. And if that means I have to be perfect in order to do so, great. Like, that's the standard that I'm going to hold myself to. And it was just a level of discipline, work ethic, commitment to what I was doing, sacrificing in the areas that I needed to, right? I couldn't be lazy in drills. I didn't have the size for it. I couldn't party like everyone else because I needed to be good to go body wise all of the time. Because again, I didn't have that ability to do it any other way. And so finding that next level commitment in myself was probably the most transformative thing that I could think of looking back at my years in Hawaii. And it's funny because it was the exact same thing that you saw at Cal Poly, right? The level of commitment that those girls had to being students of the game, to implementing instruction to a T is something, again, you don't see often. And I think you see it at the highest levels, and you see it in the most successful programs of this just level of commitment to everything, right? It's not just the volleyball, it's in the weight room, it's in the rehab, taking care of your body, it's in the classroom. giving 100% in every area that is pretty unique, and it's really, really awesome to be a part of, especially when everyone's bought into that system.
Now, well, this is amazing. This is amazing, and there's this one thought that's coming to my mind out of all you said. You said you had to change, right?
Yeah.
You had to adjust your perception and your attitude. Now, tell me, I think in this day and age when girls usually don't know what is expected of them, right? Unless they are placed, as you said, in that environment from the get-go. It's hard to imagine. It's virtually impossible to say, oh, this is what I have to do, until you are there and you see it and the demands are put on you. So what would and we're going to skip a little bit just for this one moment, what would your message be for all these girls and their parents when, let's say, they don't have access to a high performing club, or they are not able to regularly compete with the best girls in their age division? What would your advice be, how they can slowly attune themselves to this new perspective?
Yeah, it's time in, time out, right? I spent the walls in my childhood home probably are very dirty from the amount of times that I sat back and forth on the wall and served to the wall and passed to the wall. The other tool that I actually think is really, really, really important is film. And you don't need to be at a high level club or wherever the case may be to set up a phone and just watch technique, because then it's easy to compare the technique that you're seeing in yourself, and then go on YouTube, watch your favorite athlete, right? If it's Kristen Ness or right, put that on your screen and now compare and contrast the differences that you're seeing in technique. And that is watching yourself do it, to then be able to recognize when you're doing something is so imperative in terms of like changing technique and getting better. So film is a fantastic piece. Watch all levels, right? Watch yourself, watch the collegiate level, watch the pro level, and you can see the progression in skill and where you ultimately want to get to. And I think the other important piece is understanding where you want to get to. So if you're a 12-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid, and you want to play professionally, absolutely watch the professionals. And sure, you might not be able to execute at that level while you're 12, 13, but that should be your goal, right? You should be always striving to attain that level, not just better than the kid next to you. I didn't really concern myself all that much with what the people next to me were doing. My sights were always so much higher than that. So it was, what are the most successful people doing, and how can I emulate that to its best of its ability?
That's fabulous. This is such a tangible advice. Thank you for that. I think it's so overlooked. People are just receiving feedback from everybody else, and they are still playing their own video in their own head, but not the physical video, their mental video, they think. And I think this is the biggest part that just throws them off. But one more thing, what was it for you? This single thing the biggest motor for you to propel yourself for the practices and for the repetitive drills, or for this exhaustive effort, or was there something else?
Yeah, I think I hate losing more than anything. That motivated me a ton. I approach this coaching wise, but I definitely approach this as a player. Being undersized, I always wanted to have a tool belt, is what I would call it, of reasons for why I felt confident going into competition, right? No matter who I was playing against, whether it was USC, who was ranked #1 at the time, or someone unranked, how could I go into this game really confident? And I relied on everything I did in my preparation. So one part of my tool belt was, I was like, I know I've watched more film than anyone else, right? I've spent so much time watching film, dissecting it at every level. I have that chip on my shoulder. I can go into the game confident that way. Next piece, I know I'm willing to work harder than everybody else, right? I am willing to put my body on the line. I am willing to be out of breath. I'm willing to go throw up if I need to, but that's how hard I'm going to work. And so it was all these little tools that I could then have. And so going into practice and doing drills over and over and over again and doing reps over and over and over again, I looked at that as a tool, right? I'm in a game and I know I can hit this cut shot because I've hit it 10,000 times in practice. And I have to practice doing it well so that I know that I can pull it out in a game and do it well. And so that was so motivating for me in practice because I knew it was going to translate to games. And it was what would make me feel confident going into that game. Like, I've done this so many times, I could do this in my sleep. And so that was also another really motivating factor in practice.
This sounds amazing. It reminds me, I haven't known of this, that I will tell you, but I saw recently a quote somewhere on the internet, and it's this, and maybe you know it, but it's this weird or interesting way, unusual way of positive thinking, saying you're getting better and you can't help it. You're gonna be so good, and there's no way you can avoid it. You know, the way you're putting it is just like so absolute. Like, there's not even a way of doubting that. And that's like,
you're putting in the work. You're doing everything necessary. The results are going to come.
Yeah, that's wow. Okay. Everybody needs to write this down. So you got all this, and then then another piece of puzzle, working with Todd, right? Olympic champion, like the ultimate height or peak of mental or physical game performance. What are you bringing, or what did you soak in from Todd?
Yeah, two things come to mind immediately. One of them being the volleyball side. Hearing him dissect what was going on in a play was really amazing. There were certain things that I think I grew accustomed to looking for in terms of approach or trying to fix as a coach. And then he would say something and I was like, oh my gosh, I wasn't even looking at that. Like, he would say something about her feet or something like that. And I was like, how are you? So I would ask him, like, how are you able to see all of that? And he took kind of like a holistic, I think, approach to watching what was going on. But the biggest takeaway from a coaching perspective is, if one thing looked fine and it still wasn't working, something else was obviously breaking down. So it was my job as a coach to find it. And I think that unlocked a new level of coaching in terms of trying to find any and all reasons why it wasn't being executed in the way that it should have been, right? Because sometimes you think a hitter misses the ball. Okay, look at her arm swing. Okay, no, it's not her arm swing. Okay, let's look at her double arm lift. No, it's not her double arm lift. Okay, let's look at her approach. There it is, right? It's something in the approach that, right, it was slow to slow instead of slow to fast. And so I think really dissecting it in its entirety to the finest detail, and to see him do that all the time. It's like, it's no wonder that you watch a kid go into his program and a year later they're exponentially better than when they got there. And it's because of the attention to the smallest detail that he's able to coach and make sure they implement is really, really cool. And then the other piece is, I know everyone expects Todd to be this like massive, and he is, just volleyball guy, but I think the biggest shock to me going into that was how much he cared about these girls as people and how much he wanted them to succeed in all facets of life. And that's for everyone. That was even for me as part of his staff. Like, we sat down towards the end of the season and he was like, okay, let's go through your 3 to 5 year plan. And he sat there and he workshopped it with me to go through all avenues of what I potentially wanted to do and where I wanted to go in my career. And he does that for his players, right? It's not just the volleyball. It's how can you be better women? How can you impact society in a helpful way? And so the fact that I think he empowers women in all aspects of life was really awesome to see. Because I think when you think of high level volleyball and you think of the successes of these top programs, you think it's just all volleyball, all go. And so the fact that he's able to add this human part to his program, I think that's why the girls love it. They love being there. They love playing for him, playing for that university, and they love being a part of that team. And that's a credit to his ability to make it all encompassing. So I definitely try to emulate that to the best of my ability, as well as looking at the finest detail in terms of what they can implement to make their play better.
This is so holistic. Thank you for sharing that. I know, looking into the treasure chest of a kingdom that you guys built, it's sometimes hard, people like to protect it, but this is important. And I think it speaks volumes of you and of Todd, that notion of somehow relationship before results, about creating a safe, as I mentioned, the safe space where you guys allow people to be themselves, make mistakes, but grow and work on themselves and on their growth is just phenomenal. So thank you for that. Thank you for applying it, for being open to that philosophy. And now tell me a little bit about CSUN. What was your thought process going into CSUN, and how did you form, and how do you feel, or how were you feeling when you left?
Yeah, I got to Northridge and it was really eye-opening because the culture there was very different from anything that I had ever experienced before. I was very fortunate to be a part of really high-level programs. And when I first got there, it was almost like, to say they were doing a running drill, it was almost as if you finished first, you were trying too hard.
Oh,
and
really?
I was like, that's not that's not gonna help us get any better. And so out of the gate, I think we made everything really competitive. And part of the change at Northridge was getting girls in the door. And I honestly do think, as much of that first season was about being like, hey, this isn't enough. If you guys want to compete and if you guys want to win, this can't be what we're doing. But at the same time, I didn't recruit any of those girls. That was the system that they were already a part of. And I could understand that to a certain extent. So I was like, okay, this is going to take me a couple of years. I need to get the right kid in the door to start showing the example of what I'm looking for.
I see.
And I got really, really fortunate with some of those recruits that I first got in because like Julie Gunner, I don't know if you know Tasha May. She's from Malaysia.
Yeah.
She is awesome. That kid is so motivated. She came in and changed entirely what it meant to work hard, right? She was always working hard, always trying her best. And I think it was a positive spread, as it had a trickle effect to everybody, right? And it was no longer, okay, if you were finishing first, now as if you were finishing last, you got to pick up the pace, right? You got to catch up to everyone else around you, which was really cool. And the recruiting process and getting girls in the door that wanted to make an impact, because the opportunity at a place like Northridge, it was there, right? If you wanted to come in and break the single season record for most wins in a season, it was there. If you wanted from freshman year to senior year, finish as the winningest player in CSUN history, that was there. The win percentage prior to that wasn't very high. So you could immediately come in and make an impact, make history. And I feel like I got a lot of kids in the door that wanted to do that. My selling point wasn't necessarily Northridge, the school. It was, Northridge is a great school. The undergrad programs are great. You're going to get a good degree. But I feel like I ultimately recruited kids to come play for me. And there was a commitment to wanting to kind of make me proud. That was always there. And it was something that definitely motivated them. And leaving was very difficult because I was seeing every year it was getting better. With each new recruiting class that I brought in, it was getting better and better and better. We saw it in results. We saw it in level of play. I had coaches coming up to me saying that I had done so much with the program and they were impressed to see all that stuff. But more than that, I recruited all of those girls and I knew that they came to play for me. And so leaving, we met on a Zoom. I was crying. They were crying. It was, definitely. And if I would have said no, it would have been to stay with those girls.
Yeah.
If I would have said no to Davis, the reasoning and the thing that was in the back of my mind and really made me hesitate and think about it was just leaving the girls that I care so deeply about. And I'm still checking up on them in terms of like watching their results and making sure that they're doing okay and talking to Jeff and making sure they're all okay. And he said all good things. So, and I'm glad it's him. I'm glad it's him taking over and taking care of those girls because I know that he will.
Hey there. Are you really serious about your D1 dreams? Playing beach volleyball in college? And does this whole recruiting process feels like a black box to you where you don't really know what to do and what the coaches are looking for? Well, you're not the only one, but I may have a solution for you. But before we'll get to that, let me ask you, are you really serious about your dreams? Because if yes, then you need to step up and take ownership of your actions. And the best way to do it is get out and start researching information. Now, there's not much information about this whole process and what coaches are looking for, is there? Well, so for this exact reason, I created this library of conversations with D1 beach coaches so you can learn and understand what are their green flags, what are their red flags, what are they looking for, who they really want on the team, who they really don't want on the team. And all this information will help you triangulate yourself and navigate this process with much more confidence and with success at the end. You can find me on YouTube or become a part of my community directly. You get way more information as a part of the community, but YouTube will do fine. So what you waiting for? Get in, I'll see you on the inside, and let's navigate the process with confidence. And if you need more help, just contact me and I'll help you figure out how to make your dreams come true. All right? So let's go.
This is so amazing, Ari. This there's one thing building a brand as a coach and building relationships, but I talk or coaches mentioned it, and this, being with a coach in the program, that's not a 4-year decision, right?
Yeah.
You are the person that forms their perspective, philosophies for 40, 50 years to come, for their business lives, for their family lives, for everything you can think of. And so I can tell, or I can see why they would, want to make you proud, because it's like, it feels like this. Don't take it as an offense. I mean it in a very sincere way, like this big sister energy, that does not give up on them, because the age gap is smaller. So I feel they're like, I have a buddy in my corner, but she's so smart and she's so cool and she knows how to play beach volleyball. Let's do it,
And there's a relatability there that, no offense to all my male coaches out there, there's just a relatability that's not entirely there. And so it's a unique bond that I was able to form with them. I actually had taken the Davis job, and some of the girls played in a grass tournament. And this is such a cute story. They played in a grass tournament. They didn't know that I was going to be at that grass tournament. I wasn't playing or anything, but I was there watching, and they named their team Ari's Angels. And I was like, wait, they didn't know I was going to be there. They didn't know I was going to see it, but that was just their team name anyway. And I almost cried when I saw them, because I was like, that's so sweet. But I care deeply about, and they know that, and I think they could feel that that affection that I had for them. And I think it's some coaches don't realize the impact that they're going to have. You can, again, these girls are 18 to 22, 23 years old. These are some of the most formative years of their life, right? They're finding out who they are. They're learning to be independent. They're growing into, who they want to be, and having a negative impact on that would like break my heart. That's again, I think it's a disservice to what you're doing. And if you don't care about these kids, I think people should rethink their profession, because you're working with real life people, and winning is important and success is important, but I don't think you have to sacrifice being a good human being and a good mentor to do that.
Yeah, this is important. This is such a wonderful message. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for spreading it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a heartbreak there. Girls crying, you're crying, but I think has a good starting point with what you built there, right?
For sure.
Even though the support is a little on the lower side, but it's the human factor and the competitiveness is there. So that's a nice circle. Now we're at Davis. So what is like? You get accepted, right? Okay, Ari, congratulations, you are our new head coach. Now, your genius mind, what comes up?
Yeah, I think initially I need to, and I've been doing that so far, is assessing where everyone's at, right? This is, we have 25 girls on the team, and I brought in 3 of those. So I have 22 athletes that weren't my recruits. Do I know some of them? Yes, sure, in the recruiting world, absolutely. But the lore of Davis is kind of crazy, because I'm the 5th head coach in 5 years.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot. So coming in, I really needed to assess where they were at and what they wanted to accomplish and what they wanted out of this year. And so far, it's been awesome. I think having the kind of roller coaster ride of the last few years, the girls were incredibly excited to be able to buy into someone that they could trust and buy into someone that they believed in and that knew that believed in them. And so it's been overwhelmingly positive in terms of the feedback that I've gotten and the relationships that I've been able to build with the girls. Because I think from the jump, they understood, especially the years that I've had at Northridge and what I've been able to do there. I think they kind of saw pretty clearly what my intentions were coming into this program. And it's to build, it's to stabilize, it's to bring some consistency. And the coolest part about this Davis program is they've already proven themselves to be adaptable, right? They have been able to ride the wave of everything that's been thrown at them and still succeed, right? They, in the past few years, haven't really lost to anyone that they shouldn't, right? They were beating the teams that they should, competing with teams that were close and sometimes winning, and then losing to some of the teams that they should that were, you know, a step above that level of play. And so to be able to maintain that in the face of everything speaks so much to the girls that are already here, right? And so for me, looking at that, I was like, these girls know how to like figure it out. These girls know how to grind. These girls know how to put everything behind them and just compete. And so that made me really, really excited coming into this program, because I could work with that. Girls that know how to compete and know how to figure things out is kind of my cup of tea anyway. So that's kind of where I was at. And I wanted to spend this fall really earning their trust, because I think trust and respect is a two-way street. I don't think that they should blindly give it to me. I think I should earn it from them in the same way that I want them to try to earn my respect. It's a two-way street. And so really focusing on that this fall has been awesome. I think it's paid off a ton. I think they're eager and super excited to get going into the spring. I think this is, again, 25 girls. There's a lot of depth on this team. And so I think spring's going to be hard. Competition's going to be stiff for playing time. But I think they're ready for it. And I think they're excited to start to get going.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds exciting. We have there's going to be a set period at the middle December, right? When are the rosters? Middle December, or
in terms of
the cap for the roster?
We don't have. So we're implementing that fall of 2026.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I have 20. I'm actually going to have 26 in the spring, and we're good to rock and roll with that.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so now that's a peaceful way how to start a season. Now, what is your vision? Okay, we are at the stage where you're getting familiar, stabilizing, getting to know everybody. Now, with that, where are you headed?
Yeah, I took this job because of the potential that I see in this program and in the resources and in the support of the administration. All of that combined, UC Davis can be a rock star program. We have the resources, we have the support, high academic, right? People are wanting to come here. And in the way that I had to sell Northridge just for myself, I'm able to now sell the school and the resources along with myself. So I think we're getting higher interest in a program like UC Davis. And so I want to compete. That's always my goal. I want to compete at the highest levels. I know what it takes. Going into the Big West tournament this year, I want to shock people. I want to upset people. And then we go into the WCC next year, and we're only going to continue to build. And the WCC, I think, is an awesome. I'm torn and I'm excited because I've only been a part of the Big West. I'm in my 10th year of being a part of Big West programs. And so I'm kind of excited to branch out and see what this WCC has to offer. LMU is obviously doing great things there with John Mayer. But for that to be the next goal, right? Like that's who we're going to have to take on, and that's who we're going to have to compete with in order to. And again, Marcio at Pepperdine, he's doing great things. You have Jeff Elzina at Santa Clara. I know what those people are doing at those programs. Are operating at high levels, and I'm really excited for us to rise to the challenge to meet that. And so, yeah, I think UC Davis can be a powerhouse. I wouldn't have taken this job if I didn't think that was the case. And so that's kind of the vision, is maybe taking this first year to assess. But I honestly, that's how I came into it. I was like, okay, I'm just going to assess this year. I'm going to see what pieces we need, where we need to fill gaps. I'm already being surprised and blown away by the girls. And so I feel like I have to rework what I thought was going to be my first year, because I think we can actually be more competitive than I was anticipating. So my 3 to 5 year was like, hey, maybe by that third year, we win the conference tournament. And I think I can accelerate that entire timeline. I think we can do it. We can compete.
Wow. Okay. How do you define success then before this season?
Yeah, I think for us, there's a handful of teams that are what would be considered similar levels of play. And I
Mhm.
think in order to continue to step up and move forward, we have to start putting schools behind us, right? It has to be team that we beat 3-2 last year. That's got to be a 4-1 win. That's got to be
Mhm.
5-0 win. And that has to be consistent, right? There's a ton of schools in the Bay Area, Northern California, that we're going to play pretty often.
Mhm.
And so it's about really putting programs that we think that we're better than behind us and really starting to take names against programs that we think are that next level, right? If it's going 3-2 with Cal, competing better with Stanford, I think all of that will be great measures of success. And I think part of a meeting that we're going to have going into the spring program with the team is what do they want? What do they want to get out of this season? How are they, right? I could talk about how I define success all day, but it's really important to understand what my team defines as success and what their goals are and how I can get them to reach those goals.
Mhm.
Because they can't just be for me. They
Right.
have to be intrinsically motivated. And so we're going to have a meeting going into the winter quarter and really kind of dissect what they want to get out of the season.
Okay. Whoa. So many questions here.
Yeah.
It's yes is nothing without how. So let's dive deeper into the pillars and into the
Mhm.
fundamentals you are setting up at Davis. Or there already might be some, but what is your way of understanding or defining what the core values, let's say, or building blocks will be and are for your team? And from there, we're going to take it to the recruiting, because then you're obviously trying to match the recruits to what you're looking for.
Totally. Yeah, I think work ethic is one of them, hard work. And we touched on this earlier. It's not just giving it 100% physically. For me, something that I talk about all the time is you have to come to practice with your brain on.
Mhm.
We are not going to compete at the level we want to if we just go through the motions. We have to be thinking about everything that we're doing. So it's work ethic on top of intentionality. That is a theme. That is our key word that we've been using often here is we have to be intentional with everything that we're doing. Our pass and serve receive has to be intentional. Our serve and serve unit, it has to be intentional. We have to be thinking about everything that we're doing, and we must be doing it with a purpose. So work ethic, intentionality, adaptability is one that they already had. And I'm so stoked because I think if you can adapt with a new coaching staff every year and make it work, that translates so well to beach volleyball, right? I want us to be the team that on the first side switch, where we say, hey, they're doing X, Y, and Z. And in order to beat X, Y, and Z, we need to implement A, B, and C, right? Being able to adjust on the fly is how the great programs succeed, right? Because it's not going to be a one size fits all with every person that you compete against, right? You have to change what you're doing and you have to implement certain strategies in order to beat the very specific team that you're competing against. And so the fact that they already have that adaptability trait is really awesome. And I think that's going to translate very well to the volleyball side of things. So I would say work ethic, intention, adaptability, and then discipline is the next one. Got to come in and commit 100% to what you're doing. And we're very high academic school, and quarter systems go by very fast. And if you are not committed to doing well in the classroom, you're going to fall behind, and you're going to fall behind quickly. And so that's why I love being at UC Davis, because that mindset you have to apply everywhere, right? You have to apply it within athletics, you have to apply it within academics, you have to apply it within your time management of trying to figure out how to navigate all of that. So we're already kind of in a system that's helping to teach these girls how to be disciplined.
Well, this is interesting. I mean, it's fabulous. Davis made it into such a strong academic body and entity, and now sports with coaches like you are growing. So it's going to be a powerhouse. There's no question about it. Now, what comes to my mind is, yes, let's say we're talking about the nervous systems and brain being plastic, right? Adaptable. And how, in the face of these things, are you able, or are the girls able to somehow create what their core core them or core personality, core game style is. How are you able to apply this or develop that while still being open and able to adapt different game styles?
Yeah, I think they, and again, I feel lucky in this aspect, they had to have a certain level of grit to be able to deal with the adversity that they had faced. And so whether they were gritty because it was kind of an FU to the coaching, so you can take that out, but it was kind of like a, an FU to the coaching staff, right? It was like, hey, we're going to succeed in spite of what you guys are doing from a coaching perspective. And then, translating that into doing it because I believe in them is kind of how I want to shape that, right? And for better or for worse, I think a lot of the girls were in positions where they were succeeding in spite of, and it's kind of a unique thing to rally a team. And I say this jokingly because I don't think it would actually happen, but I always tell the girls in order to keep the unity and the trust among each other, I would much rather have them unite in their anger towards me on my decision making, right? I submit the lineup, they're all pissed about it, but they're pissed at me. Great. You guys are still going to work as a unified team and you guys are going to still work together. And I kind of think that unintentionally happened in years past where they were working together. And so now really working towards keeping that same grit level and that same determination, but in a more positive manner. I think the heights that you can reach when that type of determination is positive is there's no ceiling. When you're working in spite of, I think you run into some issues, but I think really translating and fixing that mindset into a more positive one will be really impactful here. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's kind of where my mind went.
Yeah, I think it did. And I think, part of this and part of this conversation is really understand and capture the unique signature and the unique personality of each coach. So they understand, okay, kids, oh, I love this. I feel like I can thrive there, or, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I can't even think of doing that. But, it's part of it. But here you go. Here is Ari. And she's like letting herself out and be herself in the most amazing way. And so people can absorb that. So, okay, we have a plan, we have a structure, you know how to go about it because you've experienced so much. And now how will you go about finding players for your matching that would match your philosophy and your business and your puzzle? How to put the pieces into the structure?
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
No, are you sure?
Oh yeah, please start. And I will ask questions along the way.
I think I feel very fortunate that I understood pretty quickly the type of athlete that I work well with and that works well in my sort of system. And in talking to club coaches and club directors, really getting a sense of who a person is has been really helpful. Again, I think hard work beats talent. If you're looking at the highest levels of play, there's not much of a discrepancy between the best athletes, right? The talent level is pretty uniform, and it's taking kids that are willing to go that extra mile that I think are the ones that end up succeeding. And so for me, there's a level of work ethic that I like to see in recruits. There is a level of, even in talking to them and talking to recruits, you can hear the intention behind what they're doing, even in the questions they ask me, right? They start to ask the right questions, always asking me what my coaching style is. And I think figuring out whether they're going to be receptive to that. I'm very hands-on. It's a lot of information. I don't think information is positive or negative. Like if I give you feedback, it's not positive or negative, whether you did something wrong or not. It's just information to me. And so making sure that that's communicated to the kids that I'm recruiting so that they understand what they'd potentially be getting themselves into is really important. And I found the kids that have succeeded in the programs that I've ran have been kids that have been able to accept that fact relatively quickly, and they implement instruction at such a high rate. But yeah, I think the work ethic, I don't think that I'm not necessarily biased in terms of height, size. I think I've found success at a smaller stature. I am very happy to change my coaching style given the player's needs, right? I can't coach my kid that's 5'3" in the same way that I'm coaching my kid that's 6'1". There's different skill sets that are needed in order for both of those kids to find success. So in recruiting, I again look for coachability, and that's something that I'll ask club coaches and club directors. How quickly are they willing to implement instruction? How long does it take them to break habits and change patterns? And then the other piece that I love seeing is seeing the progression of skill. And I think seeing a kid go from kind of like okay to the end of the summer, great, because the summers they're playing in so many tournaments. Watching them from that first tournament to that last tournament is such a huge indicator for me for the type of kid that they're going to be, the type of athlete that they're going to be. So watching them progress all summer is definitely a kid that I have my sights set on, even if it's not at.
Did you like this conversation? It was pretty good, wasn't it? I have more for you. I have conversations with D1 coaches, experts, and all the tools and guides and whatever you can think of to succeed on your D1 journey and fulfill your D1 dreams. So what you waiting for? Jump right in, and I'll see you on the inside. And if you need more help, just contact me, and I'll help you make your dreams come true. All right? Until later.